Hi, everybody. So let me do the basic Federal Reserve things first. So this whole speech is my personal view, does not reflect the opinion of the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. Done. Okay, so I'm here today really to share my experience as I kind of grew up from the Fed, and hopefully some of these tips that I'm sharing with you will be helpful for your career. So let me give you some quick background. So 4 years ago, I single-handedly built up an entire department with all the business technology analysts, centralized it all within IT. I started out with 3 people, all women. And right now, I have a team of 14. There's only 2 men. Within a month, I'm expecting 2 more, so now I have a team of 16. I remember my CIO asked me, Amy, why is it all women? So the first thing I said, well, what does it take to be a business technology analyst, like a good one? You got to be detail-oriented, multitask. You see the resemblance here for female. I didn't actually go and interview 4 women. It just so happened most of the men didn't last. I don't know why. Okay, so here I am. So before I start, I was coming up with a title. How do I want to call myself? So I just want to poll the audience a little bit. Any of you ever heard of the term people manager? Raise your hand. Oh, okay. That's good, because when I use that term, sometimes people say, what are you talking about? Of course you manage people. Yeah, well, in matrix management, there's also, you got your project managers managed for the entire project, then you have your service provider in different departments and so forth. Those other managers is either being called like a resource manager or whatever, like development manager, testing manager, and so forth. I just don't like the term resource manager. It feels like I'm managing hardware, so I want to give the identity of my people. So I'm saying it's people manager. So with that said, let me begin. So this is, again, my roots, being a business analyst. I like to model things. So this is a career development model, nothing official. I didn't take it from any books. This is what I like to use. What I encourage all of you to have is have any model, whatever works for you, okay? But keep it fresh. Keep looking at it periodically. So again, using business analyst, hat on, where am I today? Where am I going? Where do I want to go? So this is the current state, future state kind of concepts, right? It's that whole self-assessments. I'm lucky that actually Rajit is saying the exact same thing I was mentioning before, self-awareness, but be aware on the fly. So I should change that. The next thing I want to talk about future, right? Direction setting. Where do you want to go? How do you know where you want to go? Right? So, we just can't just one day say, look at the sky and say, poof, I want to be a president. No, it doesn't work like that. Not for me anyway. So what I want to share with you is what I'm going through right now. So after 4 years, I have a very stable team, fantastic people. What am I doing? It's so stable. Actually, my manager's running the day-to-day. I have time to think. So I said to myself, well, how do I help not just me, but my team? So I inject myself into business architecture. It's a brand new methodology, it's relatively new in the industry. It will help strategic planning, but what does it really mean? So I go into different industry kind of forum, not hearing from the vendors because I don't want to hear about product selling. This is about practitioner. So I get in touch with a bunch of other people. I find out there's a BizBook, business architecture, book of knowledge. I don't know how techie you guys are. I'm a very geeky thing on those stuff. It's like, oh, that looks cool. But what does that mean? How do I do that, not just in any company, but in the Fed? You can imagine the political nature. Is that policy driven? Are you impacting the markets? What does that really mean? So one thing I've learned, I've been in the Fed for 19 years. I started when I was 10. No, I'm kidding. This is about socializations. We have meetings before meeting, prep meeting with more meetings, and lots of meeting and lunch if you're lucky with that, So it's that concept. It's very hard to do something brand new, especially hard at the Fed. What are the value? What are the values? We're not profit making. The first thing people is going to think of is risk. So how do you get around that? You gotta know where you are at, what the cultures are, who you can influence, and who can help you influence others. Very important. So with that said, this is where I was at as a future state, right? And alignment to the industry, which I just talked about. Next things I want to talk about is now that you know future target, how do you get there, right? So same thing with what Rajiv was saying, differentiating skills. So why, it's very important to discover opportunities, but what does that mean to you? Why would people give you that opportunities? What's your branding? Okay, so it's really impossible to get advanced if you're invisible. Okay, so how do you develop your reputation? How do you develop your personal branding? So I'm gonna give you an example. So mine is visuals. If you are familiar with how IT people usually do presentation, you either get a presentation with great pictures, a lot of dilberts maybe, and there's no formal written papers or anything to support that. Or they put all those report textually and plop it onto PowerPoint and you need a magnifying glass to look at it. What are they telling you? So because of the job that I have to do as a business technology analyst, I need to translate business concepts. I need to also translate technology concept to the business, right? We're not asking business to pick a product as an Oracle SQL Server. We're asking them, what are your business problems? And how can technology enable and help you? That's that message. So I have to take all that and convey, and what I find it useful is visuals. So these are some recent examples that I've did for my CIO and so forth. So why am I telling you all this? Because my visual presentation skills help me become somebody real to my CIO. So last year, my CIO needed to do his first year, 5-year kind of review to the bank presidents, the first vice president. He didn't like, whoever did it for him, he didn't like any of that. So one of my, longtime managers from way back, but he moved on to a different job, highly recommended him to him and say, use Amy, she'll try to make a difference for you. All that before I even knew, what happened. And then one day I got a phone call. Amy, show up. Yeah, I had no clue. It was like 50 slides of boring text. And I said, how do I make it interesting? So the first thing I asked my CIO, well, I'm treating him like my customer. What do you want to show about you? What's the message? Who's your audience? And how much time do you have? If you got 30 minutes, we gotta cut it dramatically down, right? So you gotta ask these questions, know your boundary, know what that is being asked of you. Then you can help, really, utilize your skills. You gotta be successful at it first. Make that message, make it happen. So he was so happy with the outcome now. Then he's been having like a roadshow to all his like EVP level. I think I've heard, he probably did like 30 times the same presentation. Everybody's just coming, you've done too much. I was like, I only did one deck. Well, it's very well received. But from now on, this point on, anytime he has like an important presentation he wants to make, tap on me. So that's my side job. That's not my real job. I never thought of having a career off my side job. But what's important about that is I become a real person. I'm not just a name on the wall. He can call me up, he can tap into me, and when I go to him, I can comfortably go up the chain and say, Bill, can I have a one-on-one with you? That matters. So what I'm trying to say is branding, find your own branding. It doesn't have to be this way, but have a brand. Next thing I also did was I stood up, because I stood up this team, right? What is my team's branding? So one day, you can imagine, business analyst role is not new, it's been around for years, but now everybody has to be under me. Then the first thing I have to do is standardize the practice, standardize the way we talk, use common skill sets. But what is skills is different than knowledge, right? Because it's cross-functional. So I have to take my same analyst, go in, interview maybe banking structure people, the legal side, or dealing with the money transaction side, and also dealing with researching people like the economists, and also deal with internal, let's say, corporate accounting, human resources. How can we do all that when people doubt you? You've never done that before. So what I have to articulate is, well, customers always define the business requirements, the what. If you don't know how to do that, well, we ask you questions to drive that. Document it. Next thing is, well, then we come back to the technology side. How do we stand it up? So there's many elements to this, right? To design the solutions from, so the lower left, slide here is the most interesting thing, because to IT, everything is requirements. From, telling, I'm installing and fixing a bathroom. Well, you gotta tell me where to put the toilet precisely, that angle, this angle. I'm like, Why would you want to bother my customer for some of this stuff? So this is where the last slide there, what we're calling business design. This is where my team own. We define the functional specifications, right? It's not gonna be so deep where it's like a blueprint to go to any techniques, then voila, you got it. But we drive that. We kind of talk through the customers. So there was a lot of political nature of this, standing up this team. Why does Amy's team needs to exist? What problems we need to solve? These pictures help me address a lot of that. Because the customers were saying, well, sometimes they have their own business analysts. Well, why do you want to use Amy's team as opposed to my team? Where do we draw that line? So what I'm trying to say is collaboration. But who has which box? At the end of the day, it's about making a mission, making the solution work for satisfy the business needs. So that is an example of what I'm showing for my team. Next things I want to do is really, once you become a manager, right? What do you want to do? And that's when I focus on the people manager part. I invest in my people because I can't be who I am if I don't empower them, I don't give the time that they need. Then the most important thing is get them out of that comfort zone. All right, because I've done through so many different things. I wish I'd done that earlier. Then maybe I would have, not so much of the struggles I went through at one point in time. But I've done that. So now I'm telling my guys, if I didn't do this, you won't, our team won't be like this way, the way that it is. So go out there, do more. So I kind of, give some bullets to say, okay, this is what I'm thinking. You guys go figure the how and all that. I'm telling you why this is important. I'll give you sort of like a timeline. Tell me, well, is it accomplishable? If you don't, tell me when and what do you need. I'll make this happen for you. So this is very important. The message I want to say is don't watch them drown, because there was an others old school of management styles, right? They were saying, well, once you become a manager, you're like hands off, watch them. Well, I'm not sure that's actually going to work if the person doesn't know how to swim, right? So not to say that you want to get into every single detail, look at every single task that they do. That is impossible, right? That's not like, that's just way too much. But you should make it relevant for them so that they can understand. So one of the struggles that I had was, little, stories here. So I was mentioning I was given 3 people, all women. First person was a part-time worker who full-time telecommutes. I have the second person is very, very well established, 25 years in the bank, and however, she's listen impaired. The third person that was given to me is mid-level, I would say junior level business analyst. How do I even make everything work to cover all business line with the 3 people? So I had to make it very relevant while I'm trying to find funding, get people, go through all my recruiting, nightmares and other stories. But it happened. I can make this happen. And I had to rely on my guys to understand, you could do this. Because if I can do this, you can do this. And this is why. So I make it relevant for them. I give them examples. So one person was supporting banking structure. At one point in time, I said, you got to help me out with this human resource project. So if you can understand banking structure, relationship with the different entities, you should be able to understand PeopleSoft because it's all about people, department structure, and it's about transactions on the people record. So I have to help them, understand where it fits, where the synergies are, what are the differences. Focus on the differences, but appreciate yourself for the synergies. So that's what I wanted to talk about. The other thing I want to say is direct, don't control. Really stating the what and the why, and not telling how, because that's what I wanted. I always remind myself, how do I want to be managed by my top? I'm trying to remember that. And so when I do my day-to-day with my staff, I'm trying to do the same thing that I'm preaching, that I would like to receive. Not always easy, because sometimes they would say, Amy, backed off. I got it. Okay, backing off. All right, so that's one thing I wanted to say is, at the end of the day, as a manager, we can help create opportunities. Everybody own your own careers, but if you have a manager being there to either be a sounding board or to allow opportunities to be created, that's fantastic. So one other thing I did was I had people come to me, Amy, I've been here 20 years. I love what I do. I don't want to go to managerial. What can I do? What is my career path? I say, you know what? That's a fantastic idea. You don't have to be. So I created 2 paths. Like technical managerial, I'm creating a managerial versus an analytical path. You can become an expert in that one or two business line that you support. You can focus on the techniques, you can focus on the knowledge. You don't have to manage people if you don't want to be. Versus I have a junior person who come to me and say, I love to supervise. I can think and help people. I think I can match skills with the right job. I can tell people how to kind of allocate time. Can I be in managerial? Why not? I can make that happen. So long as you have to come forward to me with your skills. Why is it you? You can show it to me. I'll try to make it happen. So that's that message that I want to talk about, because to me, at the end of the day, your staff are crucial to execute your plans and enable your success. All right? So that's that topic. So now who can help? Mentoring, obviously, networking, obviously. I want to call out one thing. I'm not sure whether it can happen, because not every company has it, especially if it's very hierarchical. Skip a level. So let me share a story. So up before this 4 years ago, I got this opportunity. I've been labeled as a business analyst because I have a brand new CIO come in, revamp the entire central IT, stand up a project management office, and they said, we got too many people to become a project manager. I said, Amy, I think you can do something different. So I didn't know, me along with these 3 other people, there's only 4 business analysts. I'm like, okay, what does that mean? And I figured out how to become one. Being very good at it, and it's been labeled many different times in different forms, like, oh, Amy's a trailblazer. But I said, what does that mean? Where's my career path? What is the next step other than being an analyst? Nobody can tell me. So then I said, one time to my manager, I said, I used to manage a team back in the old days where everybody played multiple hats. One day you're a project manager, you're managing things, you have to roll up your sleeve, go check out your code. We've done all that. Now I've been told, pick one hat. So I pick one hat. I feel stuck. Where do I go? There was no answer. So I asked my manager, do you mind if I go another level? He goes, oh, sure, why not? We did. I went up another level, have the exact same talk. I said, I have a lot more capacity than, that you guys are using me for. I can extend my wings fuller. Where are my opportunities? Okay, more conversations. Now, one day I said, you know what? Let me look around. So I posted out. Now, I don't know about your company, but when we post out, the interview got accepted, my manager will get a notification and say, somebody's going to see an interview for Amy. Guess what? On that same day, I got a phone call from my CIO. Say, Amy, let's talk. Why do you want to leave? So I told him the exact same story, and guess what? He apologized and said to me, I'm surprised that nobody told you. We're thinking about creating a team. Do you want to manage it? And then he said, well, why are you thinking at it? If you don't want to take it and you really want to jump ship, I'll forgive you for that one day. What am I going to say? Of course I'm going to take it, right? So I said to myself, I'll give myself 3-year limit. See whether this works. So I have become who I am because I ask. I am ready for the worst. I have to prepare. You never know. You go up the chain like this, how are people going to receive you, right? You got to be prepared for it. If you're saying, I am ready for the worst, what's the worst that's going to happen to it? They're going to fire me, not in the Fed like this, okay? I don't know about other places, but not in the Fed. There's more legal stuff behind it, okay? But I have to make that point, because now I can say to myself, I didn't regret asking for it. I didn't regret going up the chain and say, well, now my boss's boss now is my direct supervisor. And with the whole business architecture, brand new line of service I'm cooking up, it's a lot of fun. I never thought of the political nature. I'm aware of it, but I never know how close I need to get to it. To really, because I have a lot of competition. There's a lot of people wanted to get in that. Does that belong to development space? Does it belong to the business area space? Because the business side have the strategic planning office. Where does it fit? So I still have to do a lot of roadshow. I have to talk about a lot of the visuals. I'm telling you, visual really, really helps. Especially if, nobody wants to read books and books and books of topics that sound so vague. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is skip a level, but prepare. Are you ready for the worst? And if you are, go ahead. What's going to lose, right?